Hello, my name is Stacey Brook, and I am the founder and chief advisor at College Essay Advisors. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the Harvard Supplement. The Harvard Supplement is comprised of three parts. Two of them are fairly short, and one of them is sort of up in the air. Let's talk about the short ones first. So the first question reads, please briefly elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities or work experiences. Now, we adore activity essays like this because it gives you the opportunity to expand on the more consequential activities, the ones that you've invested in, the experiences that you really care about and have put the most of your time and energy into. This gives you an opportunity to show your commitment, perseverance, leadership. It also allows you to expand on something that might be listed just briefly in the activity section of your common application and provide a little more context, show admissions the motivations and determination behind your actions, and give them a little bit of a sense of why it is that you have spent so much time pursuing this activity. Generally speaking, this is a fairly straightforward essay. What they ask for is what they want. The second Harvard prompt reads, your intellectual life may extend beyond the academic requirements of your particular school. Please use the space below to list additional intellectual activities that you have not mentioned or detailed elsewhere in your application. These could include, but are not limited to, supervised or self-directed projects not done as schoolwork, training experiences, online courses not run by your school, or summer academic or research programs not described elsewhere. 150 words. This is a fairly straightforward prompt as well. Harvard is they're essentially providing you with a space to showcase your added intellectual curiosity. Things that you might not have thought to put on your resume, like online courses that you have taken or books you've read related to the subjects that interest you most. Perhaps some conferences that you visited or cultural activities that were enriching to your academic life. Those are the kinds of things that you're going to want to list here. Finally, there's the opportunity for you to submit an additional essay of your choice, and this is what the prompt says. You may wish to include an additional essay if you feel that the college application forms do not provide sufficient opportunity to convey important information about yourself or your accomplishments. You may write on a topic of your choice, or you may choose from one of the following topics. And then they provide quite an extensive list of topics. I'm going to read them for you. Unusual circumstances in your life. So, is there anything that has not been explained anywhere else on the application that you need to tell admissions about for context? And again, keep in mind this cannot overlap with the Common App personal statement, which they will also be getting. So if there's something that hasn't been covered that you think needs to be addressed, do it here. Travel, living, or working experiences in your own or other communities. Have you contextualized a service trip that you've gone on yet? Is there something else to elaborate on there? Have you talked about your background coming from a military family or a different country? What would you want your future college roommate to know about you? This is actually sort of similar to the Stanford prompt, write a letter to your future roommate. A couple of other colleges play with this prompt in some way, but essentially in your own more human, more personal voice. What would you want somebody who was going to be like your next best friend to know about you? An intellectual experience, course, project, book, discussion, paper, poetry, or research topic in engineering, mathematics, science, or other modes of inquiry that has meant the most to you. So that might be an elaboration on something you've listed in one of those shorter prompts. The intellectual life may extend beyond the academic requirements of your particular school. Please list your academic activities here prompt. There might be a research project that you worked on where you have an abstract that you might want to elaborate on, summarize, or submit here. How do you hope to use your college education? This, a little bit of a riff on the why essay. Why do you want to go here? What will you do when you get here? How will you use the resources at Harvard to help propel you forward in your future? A list of books you've read during the past 12 months. This can be a fun one. You don't have a word limit for this section. That's something I should have mentioned before, which is kind of what makes this both beautiful and also perhaps a little bit overwhelming in its conception as you try to figure out what you might want to include here. But but with a list of books you recommend that you've read during the past 12 months, maybe you want to take 5 of them and crack them open and talk about what appealed to you about each selection. Maybe you want to just present a simple list. The Harvard College Honor Code declares that we, quote, hold honesty as the foundation of our community. As you consider entering this community that is committed to honesty, please reflect on a time when you or someone you observed had to make a choice about whether to act with integrity or honesty. That one you will probably have an idea for if you read it. If there is some scenario in your life that feels relevant, my guess is that it will come up right away. The mission of Harvard College is to educate our students to be citizens and citizen leaders for society. What would you do to contribute to the lives of your classmates in advancing this mission? So a little bit of a community essay, a little bit of a what are the issues that are important to you kind of reflection. Each year, a substantial number of students admitted to Harvard defer their admission for 1 year or take time off during college. If you decided to, in the future, to choose either option, what would you like to do? This is kind of an interesting question just as a hypothetical. What else interests you in your life? What are the things that you are currently invested in enough to want to take the next step if your next step wasn't going to be academics? Finally, Harvard has long recognized the importance of student body diversity of all kinds. We welcome you to write about distinctive aspects of your background, personal development, or the intellectual interests you might bring to your Harvard classmates. So that is another option that is kind of similar to community essay, is also known as the diversity essays by some schools, and there are many ways you can approach this. They're listing some of them, distinctive aspects of your background or your intellectual interests. So this can be an essay about your cultural or ethnic background. It can also be about what you have been exposed to in your academics, or how you believe that your beliefs and value system is going to bring something different and unique and valuable to a school community. So those are just the options that Harvard gives you as a launch point for what you might write about for this essay. One thing you might want to do is look at the other applications that you have on deck, see if maybe, for example, Princeton, which usually assigns an essay that is rather lengthy with very specific prompts, maybe it's worth looking at those prompts, working on that essay first and seeing what comes out of it. If you love it, if it feels like something that's valuable enough to communicate to admissions for Princeton, maybe you can use it word for Harvard. Maybe with a couple of adjustments, it feels like it's a little bit more tailored to this school, but you can still use, a different essay that you've written for another school as a base. So those are your options that Harvard gives you. And then we've also covered that your options are kind of the whole universe. You can really write about whatever you want here, as long as it doesn't overlap with any other elements that you're submitting to Harvard. Another thing we just want to mention is that this essay is listed on the application as optional, but as far as College Essay Advisors is concerned, no essays are ever optional. If you have the opportunity to speak to admissions in your own voice, you should take it. Any additional information that you present to them, any further context, any expression of your passions, any opportunity you have to allow admissions to know you better is one that can only help you. One last note, there also is one essay prompt for international students that reads, what specific plan do you have, if any, for using the education you hope to receive? And that needs to be answered in 50 words. It is a question exclusively reserved for students who are applying from out of the United States. And it really just has to be a very succinct, honest assessment of why you want to go to Harvard and what you think a Harvard education will do for you, especially as someone that needs to leave their home country in order to receive this education. That is the Harvard application. There is plenty to think about here. If you have any questions, if you have comments, please feel free to communicate with us in the comments section. Also, subscribe to our channel. We would love to hear more from you. We would love to tell you more about the school-specific supplements, which we are assessing and dissecting and presenting to you in the next few weeks as time goes on. So please feel free to return to us, and thank you so much for watching.